The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, Relmar McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome to the Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We can be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour, we'll be exploring transcendence. How many times do we think, if I could only do it over, or if I could only get, have, be, do, become, well, you fill in the blank. Yet, try as we may, we seem prisoners of our identities, roles, and lives, doing the same old things in the same old ways and hoping for different results that never seem to manifest. It's easy to look to the people or circumstances in our lives and decide therein lies the problem, but the problem becomes looking for the problem. In so doing, we create the problem and become victim to it. Often we decide the problem is lack of money. We then perceive we don't have enough, and voila, we don't. This is what I call reverse manifestation, which is the current system exploits to full advantage. The methodology of most advertising is to state a problem, then offer up a product, whether car, cosmetics, or pharmaceutical, as a solution. Following the natural progression, we need more money to purchase the solutions to problems we probably don't have. What a tangled web we weave, no? If I'm dissatisfied where I am, rather than look for the problem and try to solve it, I've learned that my time is better spent finding my passion and joy and focusing on that. At the quantum level, this is simply aligning with a higher frequency of expression. Focus is the key. Whatever we focus on, we tend to create. Put our will and intent behind our focus, and we just strapped a rocket to our backside. What happens next is that every thought, belief, pattern, and sacred cow standing between us and our joy is in our face to be cleared. At this point, it's really easy to become discouraged and abort the process. I mean, after all, this doesn't feel good, right? So where's the joy? I must be doing it wrong. There must be a problem. Splat! Right back down to where we started. We have passion for and find joy in the very things that uplift us. If we find ourselves less than uplifted, it's time to examine where our focus is and how our lives have been created around that focus. There is a downside. We may have spent years creating the life we live. Though dysfunctional our life may be, we've probably become attached to it. When we shift focus, our old identities, our old situation may quickly go beyond its shelf life as we transcend the frequency matrix that created it. We may find our entire reality crumbling around us as we die in order to be made anew. Our passion and joy serve another function, one of guiding us to our purpose. I have a very large, well-fed cat who's a mousing machine. It's not as if he decides that it's his job or that he's hungry. He just gets huge joy out of chasing and pouncing on mice. He has a real passion for it. Watching him mouse is to experience his total focus and oneness with his purpose. There's no thought or contemplation bogging down his movements. He's lightning fast and simply takes care of business. All of these concepts are anchored in frequency. Frequency is managed through focus, intent, and will. For the most part, we're unconscious of all three. It's our birthright to be frequency masters, the creators of our own reality and destiny. Yet we stagger around, unconscious, like small children with a loaded gun, blowing random holes in things, and then wondering where the holes came from. We're led hither and yon by a system that ruthlessly exploits our natural ability to create reality. While we can't hope to fight the system, we can simply transcend it by paying attention. Me Sah is a heart change healer, spiritual medium, clairvoyant, counselor, and energy coach from Santa Fe, New Mexico. She's attained a highly attuned level of connection to spirit and the angelic realms. Her focus is assisting others to find enlightenment and expanded awareness. For over 45 years, Me Sah is a spiritual teacher, consultant, and a student of spirit. She's worked in the mental health system as a psychotherapist, and for several years has focused on spiritual energetic means for healing, consciousness raising, and spiritual teaching of all levels of being. After this short break, I'll introduce Me Sah, and together we'll explore the infinite possibilities of focus, intent, frequency, and reality. You're listening to The Science of Magic. Prior innovative episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Me Sah, is a psychotherapist, heart charge healer, spiritual medium clairvoyant, counselor, and energy coach. She uses her skills in assisting others to find enlightenment and expanded awareness. Me Sah's website is www.mesah.weebly.com. That's mesah.weebly.com. Me Sah, thank you so much for joining us on The Science of Magic.
Oh, you are so welcome, but I need to tell you that the website has changed.
Well, let's fix that.
Okay. It is mesahhealingandreadings.com.
Okay, I'll ask you that again because I don't have time to write it down.
Okay.
No memory. So.
That's okay.
What is a heart charge healer exactly?
Well, I call it heart charge healing because about a little over a year and a half ago, I had a major opening happen. Now, I've been following my spiritual path for years. I've had tons of experiences, a lot of energetic changes. But about a year and a half ago, something just broke loose in me, and there was such an extreme flow of energy coming through me, and it came through the heart chakra. Now it comes through my whole body, but at that time it was more focused through the heart. And it was such a huge thing that I started calling this heart-charged healing, because it still does, my heart chakra will open up, and then the energy will come through. Although at this point the energy comes through all the time. But that's how I got the name for it, just a way of identifying what had happened and how that was manifesting.
Well, you know, that brings to mind, I had an activation by my original Lakota teacher years and years ago, and it had to do with the heart, and he said I had a configuration in my heart energy field that if I didn't have that, he couldn't be my teacher. And when he activated that for me, it was like life-changing. Is this kind of the sort of thing you're talking about?
It sounds very similar, and I'm getting my little truth chills as you're saying that. So I think there is something about that. You know, I think that we're all kind of energetically set up a bit differently, and when this happened, I started doing some research because I wanted to find out, okay, exactly what's going on. And the only thing I could find out was that it's a very unusual thing. It was a combination of the opening of the Kundalini. Now, I had had that happen before, but this was a more complete, larger opening. And then, for some reason, the energy coming down through my God self came down, and it met at the heart. And the way that it circulated, I understood to be it's a very uncommon thing that happens. So there is so much about the heart, and maybe you have kind of that same thing happening. It's very unusual.
Yes, it is, and yet it's such a power center. So it's like heaven and earth meet together in the heart, and then that empowers the entire system. It's just
Yeah,
amazing
Shiva.
to feel and to
Yeah,
watch. Yeah,
yeah, Shakti meets Shiva. You know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you help other people achieve this?
What happens when people sit in this energy is that they start getting a experience of this real high frequency, and it starts increasing the speed of the electron in the atom because you have to speed that up, and then they start getting healings or experiences or raising of consciousness or aha moments and realizations. So that's what I've been doing a lot of. Is I do work with individuals, but I also work with groups where I just sit and the energy starts to come through, and then people can pick it up as much as they're open to it, and so they start integrating that energy.
You know, I've had this phenomenon going on. Maybe you can help me with it. It's gone on for a long time. Is that I have to kind of be careful who I'm around any length of time. I remember one time I was holding a workshop, and my half sister was staying in my hotel room with me, and she says, "I can't even sleep around you. It's like being on a hit of speed." But it tends to challenge people sometimes. Have you found that?
It does, and one thing it does is anytime you get infused with a higher degree of light, the darkness will rise up to challenge it. So if someone is meeting you and it's activating their darkness, which is kind of saying, "Whoa, what's this? We don't want this. Get away from this person." They will reject being around you. The people that are not able to really integrate the energy very easily, like maybe your sister, they will feel it, and it will start to charge them up, and it might be a little uncomfortable. There's many nights when this energy is pouring through, and I just can't sleep, which is fine. I don't need it. The next morning I'm just fine, but it's just such an intense energy that I don't need to sleep. Now, there's an interesting thing about sleep, because we are always taught that we sleep to get energized. We go through the day and we get very tired, and then we need to sleep, and while we sleep, we're taking in energy, and that's really opposite of what happens, because what really happens is through the day, we get overloaded with energy, and when we sleep, the energy dissipates, and then we balance out. And that is why a yogi or a highly evolved person will not sleep very much. They can carry such a charge of energy that they do not need to sleep to balance it out.
That makes perfect sense, because when we sleep, and like you say, discharge enough to rebalance, if we have that kind of theta state that we can go into and out of throughout the day, we don't need to do it in sleep, and we can have more waking hours. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
what do you do as an energy coach?
Well, I really just help people sort of understand about energy and how to use energy correctly, because there's so much misuse of energy, and the information is not very easily found. And just, so that they can make a more informed choices and help them sort of take in the energy and balance it in the body, and that whatever needs to be done.
Tell me a little bit about the misuse of energy.
Well, energy is affected by physical things like what we eat, the colors we wear, what we listen to, the people we may be around, because there are people that would come under the qualification of psychic vampires, that
Mm-hmm.
when they find somebody that has a lot of light, they want to hook in and steal it
Mm-hmm.
rather than do the work themselves. So there's all kinds of things out there that will disrupt the energy, like a lot of the rock and roll music that has syncopated beats to it will actually turn the chakras the wrong way. It's so disruptive to the energy system. When those chakras turn in the wrong direction, the energy we can't hold the energy. It goes down the spine and out through the base of the spine. So we lose the energy. Now it gives us a sensation, but we don't understand what's really going on. Where other forms of music will help us raise the vibration and hold the energy, like a lot of classical music, a lot of melodic music that doesn't have real jagged rhythms to it. A lot of the New Age music is very good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Go ahead.
The East Indian classical bhajans are very good.
Mm-hmm. And they're fun to listen to too.
They are,
I had an accident this last winter, and had to have an MRI, and I am still trying to get things running in the right direction. Have you seen that kind of thing affect our energy as well?
You know, that's so interesting, Gwilda, because I've never worked with anybody that has had that condition. But when you talk about it, it's like, well, that makes perfect sense, because those waves coming in, that energy coming in could be very disruptive. And I'm so grateful that you mentioned that, because now I'm going to check that out with people. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's a good thing to track, because I have been discombobulated ever since, and it was just a torture going through it. And they say that those things make you claustrophobic. I haven't had a claustrophobic moment in my life. I scuba dive at 150 feet, never bothers me. But I thought I was going to climb the walls of that thing. It wasn't fun at all. And I think it was the energy present. Yeah. So I understand you're a psychotherapist. What drew you into the esoteric healing?
When I was in the mental health system, I was at this, I've been following my spiritual path through all the different things that I've done, and I've had many different professions in my life. And so when I got into the mental health field, and I really saw firsthand that there was not enough time or money for people to get the therapy that they really needed. The therapy was so limited, and that you could not do in the mental health system. I was not in a private practice, I was in agencies. You could not do a lot of alternative kinds of things that would actually help people. So I became very discouraged and said, I just don't want to be in this. So I dropped out and started my own practice. And then as I was able to integrate the more spiritual alternative methods, at one point it was like, okay, I'm just going to do my spiritual stuff. And Spirit kind of said, yes, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And even though I use a lot of the counseling skills that I learned, and they're very, very valuable, I've combined that with the spiritual approaches and the spiritual teachings that I follow, and find that that's much more helpful than just working on a straight psychological basis.
Well, psychology I've got a degree in it, and it seems to work on the mental, somewhat on the emotional level. But when you're working spiritual, you can touch all of the levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Is that what you have experienced?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have the tools. If something on the mental level or emotional level pops up, you have the tools to address that because of the training that we've had. So, you have kind of a whole package that's available to you.
Yeah, it makes a much more mono-dimensional, a multi-dimensional approach to healing. And I think that's really what's missing right now, don't you?
I absolutely do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to take a short break. Me Sah and I will return to our discussion after the news at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to The Science of Magic. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Previous broadcasts of thought-provoking episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. We will be back, so don't you go away. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. Visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Me Sah, is a psychotherapist, heart charge healer, spiritual medium, clairvoyant, counselor, and energy coach. And Me Sah, you're on. Your website is?
www.mesah, M-E-S-A-H, healingandreadings.com.
Thank you. We had a change of website, and it kind of threw me. So,
Oh.
What's your esoteric background training?
Basically, the teachings of the Ascended Masters. I have found that those teachings over the years, I found those teachings probably 50, 55 years ago, have been the thread of truth for me, although I've looked into a lot of other things, and I still do, because I'm always interested in what other approaches have to say. But that's the one that's been the most meaningful to me, and those Ascended Masters are the beings that I have developed a very personal relationship, direct relationship with.
Where'd you find those teachings?
You know, the first thing I found were the Agni Yoga books, which were dictated by one of the Ascended Masters named El Moria. From there, I found Madame Blavatsky and The Secret Doctrine. And from there, it just was one foot in front of the other. And the Masters have sponsored various organizations down through the years where the teachings were disseminated. And so I have just followed that. It went from the Theosophical Society to the I Am discourses and Bridge to Freedom, the Ascended Masters' teachings through the prophets. Those things have sort of been the trail that particular masters have been indicative and have directed. Now, there's other kinds of approaches that also get into the teachings of the masters, but that's been sort of my path.
It's amazing how we're led down that path, isn't it?
It so totally is.
Yeah, you and I
totally
came from totally different angles, and it feels like we're kind of on the same page here.
I think we are, because you know truth is truth, and you can find it through so many different approaches. And if you don't get attached to the particular form, and if you keep looking for the truth, you're going to find it no matter what approaches you use.
What did Jesus say? Seek and you shall find. Know the
Yes,
truth and it'll set you free. You know.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does your alignment with spiritual work reframe your views on the mental health system as we know it?
Well, I think that the mental health system just has, it's very, I want to say almost medically oriented, and it's that very, very scientific kind of approach, which is fine. I love science. But I think that metaphysics, what's called the ageless wisdom, are kind of light years ahead of where the scientific approach has gotten. And so, to me, the mental health field was very, very limited and didn't go far enough. And because it didn't go far enough, it didn't seem to work all that well in many cases. And so I think that what people could get out of it was just so limited, and I just felt, there's more. Let's go where there's more to offer and more to gain.
Yeah, what drove me nuts about it was having to label people. and how the
Yes.
insurance companies and all that, you got to put a person in a box. And I've never
Yes.
seen any two people that fit in the same box. So it was like we're imposing something that just doesn't work.
Well, and we're imposing things that aren't real. As I look at it now, and I look at that, I think, well, that's just a label. It's not real, and it's not who anybody really is. It's how it's using the projections that have been created to create those boxes, and it doesn't mean there's any reality to it. But if people get labeled and then they accept that labeling, they're stuck.
Yeah, they become it. They absolutely
become it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the
Yes.
most damaging things, well, in physical health and disease as well. It's like you get that diagnosis, and all of a sudden everybody's imposing it on you. Even if you don't buy into it, you're having to field everybody else's view.
And the fear that is connected with those diagnoses is so great.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that looks very, very serious, and then you tie into that whole matrix of fear and that whole false matrix that's been created, and then you're going to buy into whatever that matrix tells you need to get well. And the other thing I find is it's not so much about people getting well, it's about getting rid of the symptoms, which doesn't mean you're addressing the cause and core of what created those symptoms.
Exactly, and we can only mask symptoms so long before the very things that we're using to mask the symptoms become a larger problem than the symptoms were when we started out.
Oh, that's so true. And the symptoms are going to come back in some way or another. They may look different, but they're coming from the same place.
Right, as long as the core issue isn't treated, or core issues. We've got, again, 4 levels, right?
Right.
Yeah. Tell us, how do you define enlightenment?
That is such a great question, and I'm not sure I have a definite definition. I think that for me, it's when the 4 lower bodies, the mental, the etheric, the emotional, and the physical, are then come up in vibration to become one with the soul body, and then the soul body, that all rises in vibration to come up to that level of Christ consciousness. And then eventually that Christ consciousness comes up to the level of the God presence, at which point you ascend. So I think enlightenment is that process, and that there's different levels of enlightenment.
So it's like bringing more light in.
Yes, because the more light we bring in, the faster the electron in the atom will spin, and as the electron increases its spin, then the dark tarry substances at that cellular level will start to get spun out, and everything starts to spin very, very, very quickly. And there have been people on the planet that have been spinning so quickly that when a photograph of them is taken, you can see right through the body.
Yeah, they have this, what's the name of that photography where they take a picture of you and your auric field can show up?
That's the Curlian. That's
yeah.
Curlian photography.
Yeah, they did one of those on me one time, and it was kind of scary, the results.
Oh. But, also the aura is constantly changing.
Exactly.
So when they take that picture, that's you at that particular moment, and 2 seconds later, it's going to look different.
Exactly. And people think, and that, okay, they take this snapshot, and then they read it, and then they go, okay, this is what you are.
Right.
And I'm thinking, that's kind of like taking a blood test. It's
Yes.
a snapshot. It's not the big picture.
Yes, exactly.
Me Sah, what do you see standing between most people and enlightenment?
Attachment and desire.
Would you go into that a little for me?
Sure. And I have a bit of an argument with all of the attention giving around intention, because intention is really a desire. So when you put a desire, an intention out there, you're telling the universe, this is what I want. Where in reality, the universe might give you much, much, much more if you surrender to the universe. But if you limit what you're asking for, you may get it, but you may be missing the larger picture. So I find, in my experience, that I get much more when I surrender without intention and just invite Spirit to come in and to lead me to what I could do for Spirit. And I have to be 100% with that surrender, or it won't really work as well as it can. And I found that the more I do that, the better my life gets. The more whatever talents I may have within my being, the more they can now manifest, and the more in line with Spirit I am. And it's been just a huge opening for me to take that approach rather than to put out my intention, which causes tension, because desire creates tension in us. Wherever there's tension, there's going to be energy blockages.
So
Because the energy will not, pardon?
Go ahead.
Because the energy will not be able to move through fully and as easily as it might because of that tension.
So this is, you're kind of viewing it as fear-based. There is no trust. A beautiful prayer that I use sometimes, I simply say, Creator, you know my heart. And, yes. From there, because my heart has pure, it wants to do what I came to do. It's as simple as that. And
pure,
the other stuff...
Doorway, the heart's the doorway to our pure being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So what part do you think our belief systems play in restricting enlightenment?
Well, I think it's a huge part in certain cases. Now, if you believe that you're going to have enlightenment, that can be helpful, because that will create faith, and faith is a wonderful thing. But if we believe that certain things can't happen, or certain things aren't true, or that kind of thing, it can really limit what we open ourselves up to. So, and just because we believe something doesn't mean it's true. It's just a belief. So I think that we, as we go along this path, it's important to examine our belief systems and to say, is this still serving me? If it's not still serving me, I really don't need to keep it. I can release it and let it go.
Where do
if
you
it
think
is serving me, huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If it is serving me, then I may choose to keep it for a while until I get to the point where maybe it doesn't serve me, and then I can let it go.
So beliefs can work kind of like a stairway to heaven, if you will?
I think so to some degree. I think that they have some value, especially at certain parts of our journey. I think ultimately, when we reach that point of enlightenment, the beliefs go. Everything goes. And then we're just that pure being that doesn't need any beliefs, doesn't need any intention, doesn't need anything, because it just purely is. It's isness, it's beingness.
It's a beautiful state to be in, and at the same time I've found that my friends and family are a little uncomfortable with it because they can't quite pigeonhole me. They can't quite get me anymore. Do you see that?
Yes. It makes no sense to them.
How do you help people with that?
I think that we have to meet people where they are and help them from wherever it is that they are. So I try to meet them at their level, and then we talk about, well, what's the next step, and what's the next step, and just sort of take it a bit by bit by bit, because if you make too big a leap, it's not going to work. And energetically, their energy patterns have to also change step by step by step for the most part, because they're not going to be able to make that big, huge leap unless energetically they can make that leap. So if you have somebody that wants to change their belief system in a huge way, but their energetic pattern is not going to support them to do that, they're probably not going to be very successful. So my viewpoint is work with the energetic pattern, because as that pattern goes up in frequency, the belief systems, all of the beliefs are going to just change naturally.
So address it at a frequency level rather than a belief system level. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I find that works much smoother and much easier, and and much more naturally.
So like at every frequency, there's a different reality, and at every reality, there's a different belief system. And so you're stepping
Yes.
it up from the back door, if you would.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Well, again, I may recommend that people meditate, that they pray, that they do whatever spiritual practices resonates with them, and they do that on a regular, consistent basis, because the consistency, I think, is so important. I will talk to them again about what they're doing physically, what they're eating, what they're listening to, that kind of thing. And I would encourage them to sit with somebody that has a higher frequency than they do, because when we are in the presence of an enlightened being or somebody that is at a higher frequency, our frequencies start to increase and start to come up. And so that's a very valuable exercise to do. Find somebody that is an enlightened being and spend time, hang out with them.
And can that be someone non-physical as well as someone physical?
Yes. The trick there is, are you spinning at a frequency that can get you in direct relationship with somebody that's non-physical, like an ascended master? Don't do it with an astral being, because that's not a spiritual frequency.
Yeah, that could certainly lead you astray pretty quickly, huh?
Right away. Right away. Yeah.
How can you tell when you are working with the non-physical? How can you tell if you've hit an ascended master versus someone that's just crossed over? I mean, died but hasn't crossed over.
Well, I've learned to discriminate the energies, and that's been a process. And that's the only way I know to be sure, because some of these beings on the astral are very, very good imposters. And they can fool a lot of people, and they are fooling a lot of people. And you have to learn how to be able to read the frequency, and then it becomes very plain, very obvious. But for me, that's been quite a process, and a lot of it has been kind of trial and error. But as I figured things out, now it's very easy. But you have to be patient, and you have to be open to learning, and you have to be open to again, just take it step by step and figure things out as you go.
How much do you think these astral beings are playing in politics and everything else around us?
Oh, I think it's huge. I think that it's a much, much, much bigger influence than what people give credit for, because the astral is so close to the physical, and a lot of those astral entities will connect with somebody in a physical body because they want to continue to have the experience of being connected in the physical earthly realm.
Got it.
They
We're going to have to take a break. We're going to have to take a break. We'll pick up with this on the other side. Me Sah and I will be back on the flip side of this commercial break. You're listening to The Science of Magic, the place where altruistic professionals of science and the esoteric create common ground for the betterment of our world. You can always listen to previous transformative broadcasts on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com. Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to our world. Our website is www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour, Me Sah, is a psychotherapist, heart charge healer, spiritual medium clairvoyant, counselor, and energy coach. And Me Sah, you're on again. Your website is?
Me Sah, spelled M-E-S-A-H, healingandreadings.com.
Thank you so much. We were getting into some interesting stuff about how we're talking about how the beings that have died but not crossed are influencing people in the ordinary world and kind of maybe glomming on and playing out their agendas within politics and everything else. Did you have something more to say about that? We had to interrupt for the break.
I want to say this, that the Aborigines in Australia are saying that because there's so few people helping people get to the other side, that there is such a heavy energy on the planet that's part of the problem that's going on the planet. And so therefore those of us that are able to help somebody that has lost their physical vehicle get to the other side, it's important to be doing that work.
Yes, boy, I'm seeing that, and that's part of the training I give, so that people, when they do encounter, if they're working in this field and they do encounter that they can help these people cross and drop their agendas and drop the lower frequencies so that they can come back as helping spirits rather than interfering ones.
Yes, absolutely. That's wonderful.
Before we get too far into this segment, what services do you offer, and how can people find them?
They can find them through my website, mesahealingandreadings.com. I do the energetic sitting in groups with people. I do private sessions. I do medium work. I do readings. I do animal communication. I do medical intuitive work. I do healing work, energetic, from an energetic basis. Anything really that, once you're connected with the energy, you can direct it pretty much to whatever is being brought to you that needs help.
How much of this do you do long distance?
I do a great deal of it long distance. I probably do 75% long distance, and I do remote healings where I bilocate and go to the person and heal them in that way. And I'm able actually to go into the inner bodies of the person. I work at a subatomic level in those instances.
Right, so you're working at the quantum level.
Yes.
Beautiful services you offer. We have about a minute left, Me Sah. Do you have a message for our listeners?
I just would encourage people to take their spiritual journey as the most important thing that we can do in this life. I think that our purpose in this life, our ultimate purpose, is to reconnect with our God presence and to become fully who we are as that beautiful beingness, that fullness of God on earth.
And Me Sah, one more time, would you please share where people can find you?
Me Sah, M-E-S-A-H, healingandreadings.com.
Well, it has been absolutely wonderful working with you. I'm so glad you're out there in the world doing this wonderful work, and I hope people will find you because your services and your beautiful heart is much needed in a world in transition. Thanks for being on with us.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. It was just great.
It was great. This has been The Science of Magic. Remember, you can always listen to past thought-provoking episodes on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. Until next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge, comforted with love, and find your soul's song.